Well, hello there, Cozy Club, and welcome back, my friends. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. We've got a lot of Siege on the Olympus raid videos, and we've been really pumping these out. This next week is going to be chock full of a bunch of it you guys have been looking for. We've got the Rock and Ice Titan guide coming at you. The best raid teams is right around the corner. But while we're on the subject of the best raid teams that you guys can be bringing in for the best attempts and the most damage to give your club the best chance of sieging Olympus and taking it from the Titans themselves, I thought I would show you guys a new Maleficent team. Now, Maleficent is a character that is ways off for a lot of people, and by no intents is this video meant to flex or say this is why you have to get Maleficent. I just want to show you that the mistress of all evil can definitely get the job done in the raid, and you guys know by now the raid is very free to play. Plenty of the teams in there are all very solid. You know, you don't have to have Frank or Tiana or any of these to get the job done. However, it's fun to find new teams that can put out some pretty bonkers damage, especially when they don't use the same characters over and over again. On the team raid guide that we have coming towards you guys towards next week, we're going to be having a bunch of different teams that are very viable and easy to get, and they're not going to be using the same characters on each team because we want to best prep everybody for heroic. Once in 2025, we can all do it. And so, anyway, guys, you guys can see behind me, we've got a new raid run from my stream that I did on Friday. Cozy Club, check out this damage. We have almost 700,000 damage from the evil mistress. Now, hear me out, guys. I've tried her before. We used her the day before this, and we were able to only get around, I think, 150,000 damage. But then the theory crafting came out, and the old noggins came out, and we were able to come up with a really cool team that I present to you guys today, and we like to call it Shere Evil. Now, the Shere Evil Maleficent team is going to be absolutely ridiculous. We're going to show you guys exactly how the team works, what you need to get it done. And again, this is going to be a team that down the line, you guys will be able to get once Maleficent comes out. As I've told you guys, Maleficent, very good character in PvP, has some bugs, and once those are fixed, she's going to be even crazier, but she's also super viable within the raid itself. And so here is Team Shere Evil. You're looking at it now, and I want to go ahead and bring you guys into the game here so that we can kind of look at what you're going to need to make this team work. And then we're going to dive into the full raid attempt, because this is one of the most strategic teams that you'll need. You know, I said this on the video of my first impressions on Maleficent, but Mal is a very strategic character. She is not one that is just given to you and you're going to be able to dominate right off the bat. Her kit has loads of abilities, as you know, and each and every one does something that's going to benefit another one. And there's some unique characters that you can combine her with to really get the damage done. As you guys know, in the Siege on Olympus, probably the biggest hurdle and obstacle for a lot of you guys is going to be the empowered mechanic. A lot of teams out there can get good damage in this raid because of the lack of turn meter gain from the bosses when you hit them, on opposed to the forbidden deaths. However, let me tell you guys this, there is a way to stack some damage, not only with some of the other teams we've already covered, like Slap Zone and Machine Gun Hades. It's going to be the most prevalent in Shere Evil. Let me go ahead and break down the team so you guys best can understand it. So, Cozy Club, taking a zoomed in look here at the team, we've got the core basic kit of the Shere Evil raid team. Now, there is a free-to-play version of this team that we're going to test out as well that uses the same core strategy and concepts, but for now, we're going to talk about the Shere Evil team, and this is going to be the base of the team. It's going to consist of 3 characters and then 1 spell, and then we'll get to the other kind of spots here in just a moment. Now, first and foremost, you guys saw it in the title of the video, something we haven't talked about yet is going to be Frollo, guys. Frollo, Mr. Claude Frollo, has a pretty dang good lead. However, within PvP, you can never use it because of just the way that the overall system works with the speed mechanic within PvP. However, within the Siege on Olympus and within raids, Frollo is really showing himself as a solid lead option, and he is definitely going to be amazing here on out, and I recommend most people to go ahead and farm Frollo and get his leadership up. Now, we've talked about it before. Frollo and his entire kit, you really don't need a lot with them. You don't need to get him up high gear. You really don't, unless you meet the requirements, because all of his abilities and his lead is just him existing, and he's going to do enough at just that. Now, we're going to be using his lead. The reason we don't use Mal's lead is for several reasons. It still can work with Mal's lead, but we're going to be focusing on the Frollo lead, and then we have Shere Khan. Now, let's break down everybody's importance and their role on the team. So, you've got Frollo. You're going to be using his lead, which every single continuous damage out on the field is going to do the following as you upgrade it. -7 defense. You can go down to -7 tenacity and -7% offense per continuous damage, stacking up to a max of 5. When an opponent affected by continuous damage is defeated, all teammates gain 1 magic to a random ability. That one you don't really have to, worry about. You're not going to be defeating really anyone outside of the twisters in the raid, which is why I do like this on the Wind Titan the most. However, looking at this lead, this is what this Shere Evil team is all about. It's called Shere because Shere Khan is going to be the front runner of the continuous damage, even though other characters can work. And then Evil because pretty much it's all villains. But these are the core 3, right? So you've got Frollo here, who's got the archers. These summon archers can lay down continuous damage. You've got his silence, which is always great. His call to basic is going to call either Shere or Maleficent. And then obviously you've got the passive that's going to be empowering him a lot, with harmful effects being inflicted. Now, Maleficent, what does she play on the Shere Evil team? Well, first of all, she's the definition of evil, right? And everything in her kit is going to give so much damage, and she's really the secret ticket to this team. Again, there is a free-to-play variant. We'll get to that in a moment. And what I love most is, obviously, you guys have seen the Machine Gun Hades video. This doesn't use any common tunes outside of maybe Frollo, which is replaceable. So, if you look at her moves here, her basic is going to inflict a continuous damage every single time for 2 turns with pretty good damage. And then it's going to extend or add continuous damages if the target has a harmful effect. Now, where this can get really crazy is with the Forest of Thorns. So, the Forest of Thorns, guys, one of the best abilities that Maleficent has under her belt. But let's go ahead and check it out. You got Snare and Intimidate. Those are both great, obviously, again, for the Twisters. But then you can inflict slow, reduce turn meter, but most of all, you're going to have the chance to extend each harmful effect by 2. Now, why does that matter? Well, you're going to be laying on the continuous damages like crazy. You're going to max out Frollo's lead. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to extend that over and over, applying hundreds, I do mean hundreds, of continuous damages, and you're going to try to pop them all off at once for a massive bit of damage. You guys know the empower mechanic and how it works. You're going to have to pop it right before empowerment of the Titan happens, and you're going to be looking at some crazy damage for the raid. Now, other moves, you've got Cast My Spell. This is a 1-turn single big-time target damage to the raid boss of just a ton of damage. The dragon is the secret sauce, and then you've got her passives that are going to both aid her as well. Now, you're going to want her to be empowered big time, because here's the deal. If the ability is at full magic for Maleficent, you're going to be able to immediately evaluate all continuous damages, just like Hades, just like Demona, and then empowerment does more damage on top of that. And her passive gives her more potency and offense. Everything you want is built into this, and because of the harmfuls being pumped out there, everything's going to be built up very quickly. Now, this is why it gets crazy. Shere Khan, the Shere of the Evil, has one of the best, most deadliest continuous damages in the game. I've went through all the characters that can lay down continuous damage, and there's certainly some other options you can run, and we'll get to those here in a little bit. But Shere Khan attacks 6 times with Law of the Jungle, doing 2k damage per hit, and you can put continuous damage for 2 turns for 2.3k. This is when he's, all the way souped up, right? But it still does great no matter what tier level he's at. Now, here's the crazy thing, right? If he's stealthed, he is gonna not be able to be resistant of this continuous damage. So you're gonna go ahead, use that basic, get him under stealth, and then lay the Law of the Jungle there to start stacking those continuous damages. On top of that, you're gonna get good damage with the element of surprise. And so altogether, you're laying down several continuous damage between the 3 of these characters and Frollo and his summons. So that's kind of the gist of the strategy. We'll get to the rest of it here in a moment. These other 2 spots, I want to start explaining this a bit more. Sorcerers Chosen are going to be very important, obviously, and one of these is going to be a Titan-specific Sorcerer Chosen. Like, if you're on the Rock Titan, you're definitely going to need Jack for this skeleton, or if you're on, obviously, if you're on the Wind Titan, Oogie Boogie, or Queen of Hearts, is a good idea. Now, kind of the catch-all I like to run on most is going to be Merlin. I feel like Merlin does the job really well, and he kind of just aids the Maleficent Dragon to go ahead and get that faster so that you don't have to rely on RNG as much. Merlin's definitely the big time one that you want to have here. Getting her tactics, getting her kind of ramped up and ready to go is kind of what it's all about. So Merlin is my personal favorite, both in PvP and the raids with Maleficent. So that being said, we've got the 4 that you're going to want, with a couple of exceptions for the Sorcerer's Chosen. And then we've got our last spot. Now, our last spot can be several different characters. Typically, these 3 can get the job done, and you want to rely this last spot to be Titan specific, right? Like, depending on what the occasion is. Esmeralda does great here, and a phenomenal plug and play character there. I will let you guys decide kind of what works with your roster. Obviously, continuous damage, people that can extend, like Chunk, is great. I was looking through the characters that can inflict continuous damage, and let me tell you guys, Jafar fits this spot really well as well. Now, I like a turn meter reduction here, probably a little bit more. It's a little overkill to get Jafar, but hear me out. First and foremost, Jafar and his passive is going to lay down massive amounts of damage. His continuous damage is 5,000 for 2 turns when he's maxed out. You guys won't have him maxed out, but it still is very, very high, well above average, and it's on a 1-turn cooldown, and his basic does as well. And when things are getting really bad, you can put Inflict Hourglass to get some extra cheeky damage. So all in all, this spot will be great for just about anyone who can lay on the continuous damages without just blowing it up automatically. So in general, Cozy Club, I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is mainly that continuous damage teams are going to work. Whether you use free-to-play characters or pay-to-play characters, you're going to be able to stack continuous damage before the Titan gets empowered to lay on the big boom. Now, I know a lot of you guys are watching this like window shopping, right? Maleficent is not available, especially at 7 stars. Because of that basic attack, she's going to be the best. And with the thorns, she's great at extending. However, I want to tell you guys, there are some other great combinations that can work in addition, like we just showed you. Some other ones that I really enjoy to throw in here. Obviously, you guys know that Chunk is going to be great for tanking and, taking a lot of the blunt of the damage. But also, every other turn, he can extend with Ground Pound. Gotta love that. And then a secret character that I'm telling you guys, we are just moments from finding the best possible Theory Crafted team. And I think I've already found it. But let me show you, if you were to have something like this, again, give or take Maleficent, you could throw anyone else in there that can extend and inflict those continuous damages. We've got ourselves our secret sauce, which is going to be a hero in Ian. And Ian, guys, wow. I, first and foremost, just love him in the raids. You guys are going to see him on a team that can just do continuous, insane damage. But Ian and this Magnora spell is unreal. The things that it does in one move is still one of my favorite abilities in the entire game. But also, you're going to be inflicting random harmful effects, which can spread silence to both the main tornado and both mini twisters. You can kill things like that. But also, in addition, we might have a whole video just on Ian and how good he is in the raid. But the big secret sauce here is you're going to be able to increase the duration of harmful effects on your target by 1. And so with Ian, he's got great potency with his passive as well. That's going to help you on the Titans. You're looking at one of the best continuous damage teams with an SC over here. Even replacing Maleficent with several other choices, you've got yourself a banger of a free-to-play continuous damage team as well. Now, we're going to be looking at a more, a Maleficent-led one this time around. Her leadership can feed her magic a little bit more, too, to get the thorns out there of extension. But wow, this one's a beauty, guys. Now, Cozy Club, we're going to jump into the video for the raid. But before we do just that, I do want to talk about maybe a free-to-play option and why I think Frollo should be a very high farm priority for most of you and your clubs. Now, when it comes to Frollo, obviously we talked about his leadership. You can replace Maleficent. She is so good at putting out continuous damages, but if you don't have Machine Gun Hades or the rest of the team to run that, you can always do in his spot. You could do Pain and Panic in Hades. They're great at stacking up continuous damage. This is a very free-to-play team that you can work on pretty easily, outside of Frollo being the hardest with his leadership. Also, other great characters that you could run here. Demona, even with her instant evaluation, is going to do the same job pretty dang well. There's plenty of characters like Quasi that can pump out crazy continuous damage. And just going through the list of characters here, there's quite a bit that can lay them out. You just want to make sure that you have other characters that are going to give you a good chance against the Titan to keep the run going. But this is a decent free-to-play team that you could run. Anyone with continuous damage is going to have the same strategy. Let's go ahead and check out that strategy and show you guys what it's all about. So here we are against the Tornado Titan. I've got Esmeralda on this team with Merlin, and you guys are going to see I'm actually fighting the Wind Titan last. It's very hard when you fight him last, just because of how much speed turn meter he gets through the Wind passive. Again, if you haven't seen it, go check in the top right corner above to go ahead and see the guide we have on the Wind Titan. But here we go. Let's go ahead and show why this team works so well and how you're going to set it up. Because out of every team, this is one of the most difficult to do reliably, but once you do it, it's going to make a lot of sense. So Esmeralda, really great, obviously, for the Twisters, and one of the best characters to get rid of them. And at this point, I'm looking at Forest of Thorns. You guys know Intimidate, very strong against the Twisters. It takes me literally 30 seconds to make this decision, and I end up missing anyway. If I were to land the Intimidate, this run would have been off the charts, maybe over 1 million damage, and I kid you not. But let me go ahead and show you what the goal is. We're going to be stacking up continuous damages like wild up here, and then we're going to be popping them off with the Dragon of Maleficent. So I decided to get rid of the Twister and kind of manage the damage that the Tornado Titan can do to us. And this is where the fun begins. Check it out. So we're going to give the tactics right away. No need to worry about cleansing. We're going to give that over to Maleficent, and we're going to start building up our continuous damages. Now, in the future, this was the first time I was running this team. This is before we knew what was going on. And by really, Shere Khan should get his basic out there first with a harmful on the boss to have his guaranteed resist to go ahead and go when he's under stealth. But we're going to learn each time. So we're going to summon out Jolly, and at this point, we're going to lay on as much damage as we physically possibly can with continuous damage without getting the boss empowered. All Titans, it depends on the tier level you're at. I know T4 is about 300,000 per Titan, and the Rock Titan's about 400k. I think it's like 150k at T2. But here we go. So we're laying down the continuous damages like crazy, and we're going to keep on doing just that. Now, real quickly, I'm going to stop the video here just to show you guys, again, with Frollo's leadership, you're looking at some great things. Negative 7% defense per continuous damage. At this point, we're at negative 35% defense on the Titan. Still unsure if it's flat stats, what these Titans have, but you can definitely tell the difference. Negative 5% tenacity that can get up to 7%. That is a game changer in inflicting harmful effects, especially, like I said, with Ian putting that out there with that potency. You won't even necessarily need the fear. And then we've got negative 5% offense. That's going to be up to 25%. So 25% tenacity, 25% offense, negative. That is a big deal on the Twister, and it's going to help massively. But let's go ahead and continue with this run. We're going to get the archers out here as well, and they stack more stacks of continuous damage. You guys are getting the theme here. And this is where it starts to get really crazy. My spells were Wild Imagination and Sugar Rush. Hindsight, you definitely want to do Splash Mountain because you can extend all the harmfuls on them, which is just crazy to think that I could have this well over 1 million. This is the team that if everybody had Maleficent, you could just nuke these Titans down. But even with Frollo, it's going to work about the same. Now, one cool thing you're about to see here is the extension of all of these harmful effects. Check it out here. Watch how all of these continuous damages, boom, extend up a notch. That's all of Shere Khan's 2Ks. All of the continuous damages that are laid out there are going to be brought up a whole nother level here. So check this out. This is really where the main strategy of this team comes from. If he does get empowered, he'll lose all of these. So you need to be careful with your damage and what you're doing. And it takes some time to get the hang of this. But this just shows how crazy she is as we just lay on the layers of continuous damage. And I'll kind of fast forward here so you guys can see there's only a couple minutes left in the run here. But again, we keep kind of, actually, I'm not going to, we'll keep it where it's at. We're going to keep on laying it on. We're going to keep on laying on the damage. And at this point, the tornado knows he's done. He knows he has no shot. And we haven't done too much other damage outside of these continuous stacking, right? So this hit with Shere Khan could have hit for, I don't know, 50k if it would have done a crit damage. It did not crit, but it still did pretty respectable damage, you know, altogether. Let me go ahead and fast forward here. We do decent damage here. And now we've got ourselves kind of the end of the run. This is where everything ends. And right now, we're just trying to get to empowered. That's the whole goal of this run, is to get to empowered with Maleficent. And even if you're not, it's still able to work. If you are empowered, you're going to be doing more damage. But if you're not, it's not the end of the world, because triggering the continuous damage is really what this is all about, right? So here we go. Maleficent's starting to take damage. Clutch evade from Maleficent, one of the biggest evades that she had. And then this is where the run starts to get pretty buku, right? We have one more tactics that we're obviously going to give to Maleficent. Mal is empowered, which is exactly what we wanted. And this is where you guys can feast your eyes. I'm going to try to slow it down. But this is where you can feast your eyes on pure craziness, right? We go for, I think, one more speed reduction, which is just insane that we landed it with Esmeralda, which is why she's still the best. We lay on even more continuous damages without, you know, triggering the empowered. And then lastly, here we go. We have Serve Me Well with Maleficent, and we do the dragon. Now, here's the deal, guys. I could have done the thorns. You don't want to get greedy with this, because if you get greedy, you're going to empower them. You want to trigger the dragon as soon as it's available. And here we go. We're going to show you guys and watch it pop off. I didn't even realize how much damage I did until the end of the run. I'm trying to think about what's the best option here, right? Dragon or thorns, dragon or thorns. We go with the dragon. And once I finally make my decision here in just a moment, we're going to try to pause so that you guys can see. It's, I mean, I want to say it's, you know, I don't know, 40 stacks. I should have checked exactly how much it was going to be, but watch this. First and foremost, we're going to go, let me move this down just a hair so you guys can see it. Watch the health. It doesn't look like a lot, but when it comes to 60 million health or 50 million health, it's quite the substantial amount. And then look at this. Look at all these crits. Look at all of the continuous damage. This is a thing of beauty, and this is just sheer freaking evil. You can run that with other characters that aren't Maleficent. Obviously, she does a great job stacking that. And let me fast forward to the end here. We got another dragon off, which was nice. And this was the final result, guys. Almost 500,000 just from Maleficent. And just in case you guys were wondering, let me take you back to the desk here. Just in case you guys were wondering, yes, it does work in the Forbidden Depths as well. One of my clubmates, Jin, ran this, and shout out to Jin there. It does the same. It does the same thing. Look at the damage that Maleficent can do in the raids. Frollo lead makes so much sense. You can do a Maleficent lead in the Forbidden Depths with a little bit more success rather than the Siege. Altogether, though, this is pretty nuts, right, guys? I mean, you want to run Splash Mountain to extend those harmfuls, and the other spell is whatever complements the team or whatever the Titan is. But the damage potential from Maleficent and Frollo is off the charts, and now we've got great news that these continuous damage building teams are going to work massively within the Siege of Olympus. Shere Evil, Shere Khan being a big chunk of that, and then Evil with the villains and Frollo. You gotta love it, y'all. And this is a team I definitely recommend farming for more successful runs for you and your club. Thank you guys so much for checking out today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something, and tell me how this worked for you. If you were able to run it, or if you ran another variant of this, how did that go as well? Let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, Cozy Club, stay cozy, my friends.